Good afternoon. It is Thursday, September the 10th. We're looking at section 2.3 in geometry, which deals with conditional statements. I'll go and share my screen and we'll look at the whiteboard and talk about the conditional statements and the type of activity you need to be able to deal with. So a conditional statement is an if-then type of statement. So if we look here, if we write on a statement, say, if the forecast is rain high, then I will take an umbrella. Okay, now, so what you have here, this is a conditional statement, if then. The hypothesis, if we look up here, the hypothesis is the term after the if. So if we look here, the hypothesis would be the forecast is rain. The conclusion, so we write the conclusion down here. Conclusion is, so we get this, the part that follows the then, so it would be the I here, and we'll take an umbrella. So that's the main thing when you look at a statement. The big part of your lesson for today is being able to change it into a conditional if-then type statement. So if you look at those, the other part of your lesson for today, we have three different types of statements here. This is what's called a conditional, or correct, so I come out here. So this is the conditional statement in that form. The second form would be the converse. So look at the CON, converse statement. Now the converse statement takes the conditional and reverses the statements. So the converse would be if I take an umbrella, then forecast is rain. Okay, now what you'll find out is the conditional and something down here, which we'll call the contrapositive, are similar, and the converse and the inverse are similar. So now in symbolic form here, if I come over here, the hypothesis is P. So in symbolic form, what this says here, the conditional says P implies Q. So P is the hypothesis and Q is the conclusion. So the converse down here would then basically say that Q implies P. Okay, now then, the next thing we're going to look at is something called the inverse. And the inverse takes the original conditional statement and negates both parts, both the hypothesis and the conclusion. So it would say if the forecast is not rain, then I will not take an umbrella. Okay, so this is, if we put it in symbolic form over here, it says not P. Remember, the not symbol is this little curlicue here. So not P implies not Q. Like that. And then the final one we would get is something called the contrapositive. It's a big word. The contrapositive. And the contrapositive negates and reverses the order. So it would say, if I do not take an umbrella, then the forecast is not rain. Okay, and this one in symbolic form would be not Q, implies not P. Now, the biggest thing you need to get out of today's lesson is kind of the combination of these two things. Understanding what the conditional is, being able to pick out the hypothesis and the conclusion, and then being able to write a statement in if-then format. So, like for instance, let me give you an example down here. If I come down here and I say, if I start with all rectangles are quadrilaterals, okay? That is just a statement saying all rectangles are quadrilaterals. So if I want to put that into if-then form, I'd say if a figure is a rectangle, then it is a quadrilateral. Okay, so that's something, and this is just a statement here, all rectangles are quadrilaterals. If you put it into the conditional form, it's an if-then statement. So if the figure is a rectangle, then it is a quadrilateral. So those are the things, if you look there on the screen, and remember when you're watching this, you can pause it and study it, but those are the things you need to get out of today's lesson. You have four homework problems. If you look through them, if you have questions, send me an email.